Have you ever walked into a place and immediately felt like you didn't belong? Have you ever been looked up and down by someone who decided your worth based on the clothes you were wearing or the car you drove? If you have, then what I'm about to tell you is going to hit you right in the heart, because this story is about dignity, respect, and how the universe has an incredible way of making sure the right people see when wrong is being done. I'm talking about a moment that started as the most humiliating experience of my life and ended up becoming proof that sometimes angels wear business suits and carry smartphones. This is about what happens when someone with power decides to use it for good, and how a single act of witnessing injustice can change everything for the person who needed it most. If you've ever been judged by your appearance, if you've ever been made to feel small by people who think they're better than you, if you've ever wondered whether standing up for strangers actually matters, then this story is going to give you chills. What happened to me in that luxury boutique was caught on camera by someone I didn't even know was there, someone who worked for a billionaire I'd never heard of. And when that footage made its way to the right person, it set off a chain of events that proves karma doesn't just exist. Sometimes it shows up with a checkbook and a conscience. Before we dive into this incredible true story about justice, dignity, and the power of good people doing the right thing, I need you to do something for me. Hit that like button right now if you believe everyone deserves to be treated with basic human respect, regardless of what they're wearing or how much money they have in their wallet. And if you want to hear more stories about real people standing up for what's right, and karma delivering justice in ways that will restore your faith in humanity, smash that subscribe button, because I promise you, these stories will remind you that good people still exist in this world. What I'm about to share with you changed my life forever, and it all started with the most important job interview of my life and my desperate need for one decent outfit. I had no idea that my worst day was about to become the beginning of my best life, all because someone I'd never met decided that what they witnessed was too wrong to ignore. My name is Sarah, and 6 months ago, I was living paycheck to paycheck, working 3 different part-time jobs while studying law at night school. I was a single mother to 6-year-old twins, Emma and Jake, trying to build a better life for us after a divorce that left me with nothing but debt and determination. Every dollar I earned went to rent, groceries, and babysitters, so I could attend classes in the evenings while my kids slept. But then something incredible happened. I got called for a final interview at Morrison and Associates, one of the most prestigious law firms in the city. This wasn't just any job. This was the kind of opportunity that could change everything for my family. The position was for a paralegal, with the promise of full tuition assistance to finish law school. It was like winning the lottery, except I had to earn it. There was just one problem. I had exactly one professional outfit, and after 2 years of wearing it to every interview and job fair, it was falling apart. The blazer had a small tear near the pocket, the skirt was faded, and the whole ensemble screamed desperate rather than professional. I knew that at a firm like Morrison and Associates, first impressions weren't just important, they were everything. So I did something I'd never done before. I took the $400 I'd been saving for 6 months, money that was supposed to be our emergency fund, and decided to invest it in one good outfit. Just one professional suit that would make me look like I belonged in a law firm, like I was someone they could imagine as part of their team. I spent hours researching where I could find quality professional wear within my budget. That's how I ended up at Grandview Galleria, the most exclusive shopping center in our city. I had no idea at the time that this mall was owned by tech billionaire Marcus Chen, or that my visit there would end up changing both our lives in ways neither of us could have imagined. All I knew was that there was one store, Prestige Collections, that was having a sale on professional wear, and according to their website, I might actually be able to afford something there. I looked at myself in the mirror that morning, wearing my faded jeans and old sweater, and I made myself a promise. I was going to walk into that store with my head held high, buy one beautiful suit, and show up to that interview looking like the successful lawyer I was determined to become. Walking into Prestige Collections felt like stepping into a different world. The store was all gleaming marble floors, soft lighting, and clothes that looked like they belonged in magazine spreads rather than real closets. I took a deep breath and reminded myself that I had every right to be there. I had money to spend, and I needed what they were selling. The moment I stepped through those glass doors, I felt eyes on me. The sales associate, a perfectly polished woman in her 30s named Brittany, looked me up and down with the kind of expression you'd give someone who just tracked mud through your living room. Her smile was practiced but cold as she approached me with obvious reluctance. "Can I help you find something?" she asked, but her tone suggested she'd rather help me find the exit. When I explained that I was looking for a professional suit for an important job interview, her eyebrows raised in what I can only describe as amused disbelief. "Well," she said slowly, "our suits typically start around $800. Are you sure you're in the right place?" I felt my cheeks burn, but I kept my voice steady. "I saw online that you're having a sale on professional wear. I have a budget, but I'm hoping to find something that works." I pulled out my wallet to show her I had cash, thinking that might change her attitude. Instead, it seemed to make things worse. Brittany's expression shifted from condescending to suspicious. She began following me around the store like I was some kind of shoplifter, hovering so close I could smell her expensive perfume. Every time I touched a garment, she'd appear beside me with comments like, "That piece is quite delicate," or "Please be careful with the merchandise." But then I found it. Hanging on the sale rack was a beautiful charcoal gray suit, perfectly tailored, marked down from $600 to $380. It was exactly what I needed, and it was within my budget. For the first time all day, I felt hope rising in my chest. That's when Brittany really showed her true colors. "Oh, I'm sorry," she said, not sounding sorry at all, "but that suit is being held for another customer." I looked at the garment. There was no hold tag, no reservation slip, nothing to indicate it wasn't available. When I pointed this out, her manager Kevin appeared, and I realized my day was about to get much worse. Kevin Morrison looked like he'd stepped out of a men's fashion magazine. All sharp edges and perfectly pressed shirts. He listened to Brittany's whispered explanation with the kind of theatrical concern that immediately told me this wasn't going to go well. Then he turned to me with a smile that was all teeth and no warmth. "Ma'am, I understand there's been some confusion, but we've had several complaints about your behavior in the store today," he said loudly enough for other customers to hear. My stomach dropped. Complaints? I had been nothing but polite, even when Brittany was treating me like a criminal. "I'm sorry, but what complaints?" I asked, genuinely confused. "I've just been looking at suits. I found one on your sale rack that I'd like to purchase." Kevin's expression grew stern, like he was dealing with a difficult child. "Several customers have mentioned feeling uncomfortable with your loitering. This is a high-end establishment, and we need to maintain a certain atmosphere for our clientele." I felt the word hit me like a slap. Loitering. I wasn't loitering. I was shopping. I had money in my hand, ready to make a purchase. But looking around at the other customers in their designer clothes and expensive handbags, I suddenly understood what was really happening. I didn't look like I belonged there, so they had decided I didn't belong there. "Please understand," Kevin continued, his voice dripping with fake politeness. "We're just trying to do what's best for everyone involved. Perhaps there's another store that might be more suitable for your needs." That's when I saw the security guards approaching. Two large men in uniform, walking toward me like I was some kind of threat. The humiliation was overwhelming. Other customers had stopped their shopping to stare at the spectacle, their faces a mixture of curiosity and judgment. What I didn't know was that across the store, near the designer handbag section, a well-dressed Asian woman in her 40s was watching everything unfold. Lisa Zhang had come to Prestige Collections to pick up an outfit for her boss's charity gala, but instead she found herself witnessing something that made her blood boil. Without hesitation, she pulled out her phone and began recording. As the security guards reached me and Kevin asked me to leave the premises, Lisa captured every moment of my humiliation. She recorded Brittany's smug expression, Kevin's fake apologies, and my desperate attempts to explain that I just needed one suit for a job interview. She had no idea who I was, but she knew injustice when she saw it. I spent that night crying on my sister's couch, telling her how I'd been thrown out of that store like some kind of criminal. The interview was the next morning, and I was back to my old, worn-out suit that screamed desperation rather than confidence. I seriously considered canceling the whole thing. How could I walk into Morrison and Associates feeling like this? But then I looked at my sleeping twins and remembered why I was fighting so hard in the first place. What I didn't know was that across town, Lisa Zhang was sitting in her boss's corner office, showing him footage that would change everything. Marcus Chen, the billionaire tech entrepreneur who owned Grandview Galleria, watched the video 3 times in complete silence. Lisa had worked for Marcus for 8 years, and she'd never seen him so angry. "This happened in our mall?" he asked quietly, his voice barely controlled. Lisa nodded, explaining how she'd witnessed the entire incident while shopping for his charity event. Marcus stared at the screen, watching me plead with those security guards, and something in his expression shifted from anger to determination. You see, Marcus Chen hadn't always been a billionaire. His parents had immigrated from Taiwan with nothing, facing discrimination and judgment everywhere they went. He'd built his empire on the principle that everyone deserved to be treated with dignity and respect. Seeing what happened to me in his own property felt like a personal betrayal of everything he stood for. The next morning, I was getting dressed in my sad, old suit when there was a knock at my door. Standing outside was Lisa Zhang, holding a garment bag and wearing the kindest smile I'd ever seen. She introduced herself as Marcus Chen's assistant and explained that they'd witnessed what happened to me at the store. "Mr. Chen wanted you to have this for your interview today," she said, handing me the bag. Inside was the most beautiful charcoal gray suit I'd ever seen. Not the one from Prestige Collections, but something even more perfect. It fit like it had been tailored specifically for me, which I later learned it had been. But that wasn't all. Lisa handed me an envelope containing a letter from Marcus Chen himself. He apologized for what I'd experienced in his mall and explained that the footage of my treatment would be released publicly with my permission. He wanted the world to see how I'd been treated, not to embarrass me, but to ensure this never happened to anyone else. Walking into that interview wearing Marcus Chen's gift, I felt like a completely different person. Not because of the expensive suit, but because I finally understood that my worth had never been determined by what I was wearing. Someone I'd never met had seen my dignity being trampled and decided it mattered enough to act. That realization gave me a confidence that no amount of designer clothing ever could. I got the job. Not only did I get the job, but the senior partner at Morrison and Associates mentioned that they'd seen the viral video of what happened to me at Prestige Collections. Instead of being embarrassed by it, they were impressed by how I'd handled myself with grace under pressure. The discrimination that was meant to destroy me had actually become proof of my character. The video Lisa recorded didn't just change my life. It sparked a nationwide conversation about retail discrimination. Prestige Collections lost their lease within a week, and both Brittany and Kevin found themselves unemployed and unemployable in retail. Marcus Chen didn't stop there. He implemented comprehensive anti-discrimination training across all his properties and created a scholarship fund for single parents pursuing law degrees. 6 months later, I'm thriving in my new career. My twins are happy and secure, and I've become close friends with Lisa Zhang, the woman who chose to act when she witnessed injustice. But the most important thing I learned from this experience isn't about karma or justice. It's about the power of good people who choose to do the right thing when they think nobody's watching. Lisa could have walked away. She could have minded her own business and continued shopping for her boss's charity event. Instead, she saw someone being treated unfairly and decided to bear witness. That simple act of recording what happened changed everything. Not just for me, but for countless other people who now know that discrimination has consequences. If Sarah's story moved you, if it reminded you that everyone deserves to be treated with basic human dignity, regardless of their appearance or bank account, then I need you to take action right now. Hit that like button to show that you believe in standing up for what's right. Share this video with someone who needs to remember their worth isn't determined by other people's judgment. And subscribe to this channel because we'll keep bringing you stories about real people proving that kindness, courage, and karma are alive and well in this world. Remember, you never know who might be watching when someone needs a champion. Be like Lisa. Choose to care about strangers. Choose to act when you witness injustice. Because sometimes being willing to press record can change someone's entire life.